Imagine a world bathed in shadow, where love twists into obsession and humanity battles the monsters within. Robert Eggers' Nosfaratu invites you into this haunting reimagining of F.W. Murnau's 1922 silent classic, reviving its gothic heart while layering it with Eggers' signature dread and atmospheric storytelling. This isn't just another vampire movie. It's a visual feast of meticulous period detail, psychological depth, and an overwhelming sense of foreboding. This film stars Lily-Rose Depp as a bride, Ellen, who's being stalked by Bill Skarsgard's grotesque, pitiful, and hypnotic Count Orlock. With the clock ticking on Ellen's life, her husband, played by Nicholas Hoult, sets out to end the scourge of Nosfaratu for good. Set amidst stunning cinematography and a haunting score, this film will swallow you in an intoxicating blend of beauty and terror. Today, we're sinking our teeth into a film that's more than a remake. It's a chilling meditation on love, power, and the blurred line between humanity and monstrosity. So dim the lights, grab your crucifix, and prepare for a journey into the shadow. Hello, and welcome to Once More Unhinged. I'm Count Ryan something.
And I am running around my front yard in a white billowy nightgown. I'm also Jen Katz.
Nice.
Hi.
Happy New Year's Eve, Jenny.
Happy New Year's Eve. Yes, as we are recording, it is December 31st, but I'm sure as you all are listening, it'll be the beginning of January 2025. You're in the future.
You are.
Or you're in the past, depending on when you're listening.
We're in the past. We're in the past. You're in the present.
Or are you?
Or are you?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Any exciting New Year's Eve plans?
No, I don't have any exciting New Year's Eve plans.
Same. Wicked is now on streaming, so I think we'll all watch Wicked and probably be asleep before midnight. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm exhausted. I was up past midnight last night making my red beans and rice.
Your famous red beans and rice.
For you and for some other loved ones.
I have your matzo ball soup. Probably some of my best matzo balls.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. Really good. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe that's what I'll have for dinner tonight.
Maybe.
We'll do a dinner exchange, dinner swap.
So.
Cool. What, you got plans?
That's it.
That's it.
Not going anywhere.
Gonna watch Wicked.
Mm-hmm. Go to bed.
Do your thing.
Yeah. Maybe get in the hot tub, but.
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice.
No champagne, made no plans. So anyway, we did have some exciting plans this past weekend.
Okay.
You and I and a couple of our other good pals, shout out those good pals, went to see a little film.
Yeah. The Unhinged Flight Crew, as we refer to them.
Yes. The Unhinged Flight Crew saw the film Nosfaratu.
Yes. Written
and directed by Robert Eggers. Remake of the 1922 silent film that was allegedly destroyed, but some of it survived. Mm-hmm. And it was out of my usual film comfort zone and box.
It was. When I asked you to see this and sometime in November.
Yeah.
I was shocked when you were like, yes, I'm in.
I'm trying. I like that. I want to expose myself to more content. I want to not just keep going back to the same things. Yeah. And I mean, look, I've got thoughts, I've got notes, but I'm very excited to talk about this with you today. We had a great time seeing the film. We went to the Alamo Drafthouse on South Lamar here in Austin. Always a good experience. The service was great. It was a full theater. Yeah. It was great. I had a great time.
It was a great movie experience. And this film's been getting a lot of buzz. I know there's a lot of people who's going to see. I would be interested to know what their opening weekend numbers were.
Okay. Well, Nosfaratu has, since debuting on Christmas Day, it has made $40.8 million at the box office, which is a solid run according to Variety for the Christmas Day weekend. So
yeah, it's in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and let's get into it.
I liked this film.
Okay.
It's not without notes.
Us? With notes?
Because there are certainly some notes.
Yes.
But for me, what I went into this film understanding was I've seen the original Nosferatu and I've seen the remake in the 70s. I've watched the Bram Stoker's Dracula versions, which this story was basically, copied very, I wouldn't even say loosely, like it's, names are changed and that's really about the end of it. So I went in with an understanding that this wasn't going to be Eric Northman. This wasn't going to be...
Damn shame. No offense, Bill.
Sam Reed's Lestat.
Damn shame.
Or anything like that. I did know that and expected, especially with the previews, that we were going to get more of a corpse-like monster as far as like the vampire goes. This was one of the scariest films that I ever saw growing up. It scared me, and something about it scared me, but also attracted me to the genre and really got me hooked on vampires. So I was excited to see a remake of Nosferatu. I was excited to see that Eggers was the person who was going to lead this, knowing how compelling he is as a visual storyteller.
Yeah.
I was excited. And then the previews came out and we were like, hooked.
Yeah, the previews are stunning.
I mean, it is visually a cinematic masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's a piece of artwork. And I thought about this over the past 2 days. I'm like, the criticisms are fair, but I didn't go into it looking to be entertained with a movie over Christmas break. I went into it expecting to see how Eggers was going to take the nuances of the original film and put his take on it, and to see a modern version of Nosferatu, because there are just some very rudimentary things that you see in the original and even in the remake of the 70s that I think Eggers did a great job of absorbing and filling in those gaps. And so I like this evolution of this story with him.
Yeah.
I think it is truly a piece of art and less a piece of entertainment. But I understand that the two go hand in hand, especially when you're talking about producing films and pictures.
That whole side of it. Yeah. The pictures, the talkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with a lot of your points. I have not seen any iterations of Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
I know of the 1922 version. I know the story more of the drama surrounding it with Bram Stoker's widow and allegedly it was supposed to be destroyed and it wasn't. I didn't even know there was a 1970s remake.
Yeah, there's great drama surrounding this.
Yeah. Could do a whole podcast on that. It's fascinating to me.
Perhaps we shall.
I have seen the Gary Oldman Dracula. It's been a long time, and I was befuddled by it as a child.
Chef's kiss.
Because Gary Oldman. Still to this day don't understand that wig. I don't understand it, and someone please help me because I still don't. And I love vampires. I love vampire stories.
Do you?
This is not my type of vampire story.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, this is a piece of art. I think people should go see this in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
It's stunning. The cinematography, the color changes when, kind of in the dream space with Ellen and Nosfaratu and Nicholas Hoult when he's in the castle. The gothic feel. It feels like a gothic tale. The score, the costuming. It's so well done. The attention to detail. I mean, it's like you said, it's Robert Eggers. You're going to get something that is beautiful.
Yes.
And something that a lot of thought has been put into.
Yeah. It's moody. It's dark. And
yes.
just dripping with eerie atmosphere.
And I like that.
Nailed it.
They did.
And that really was the Nosferatu. It's the shadow.
Yeah.
And you see that in the other two original films. And there's something about shadow and light which works to tell stories.
Yeah.
But it's also a metaphor for life in so many different ways, and especially with these stories, with vampire stories.
Yeah.
And I just love that theme that they keep of this shadow. And they did the homage to that in the in the 90s Bram Stoker with Gary Oldman, where the way the camera moves, his shadow moves before he does, and you see that
it's so
before you see him. And I love that and how a director can play with light to make you to build that intensity and that anxiousness.
I agree. And that the few well placed and thoughtful, like the jump scares, quote unquote, were well done.
Yeah. That's what I worried about you, because I know how you are with scary movies. And I was like, man, I don't want Jenny to go and spend half of her time like with her hands in front of her eyes because she's afraid of something that may or may not happen. And I like how they did this where your face wasn't covered the entire time.
No.
Because they would build you up to it, and then it like you said, they were expertly placed and done so in a way that, didn't take away from the movie.
No. And the acting, I mean, everybody does a phenomenal job in this movie. I think there's a one note. We'll get to him in a minute. But Lily-Rose Depp, when I saw the casting, I kind of gave a little bit of a side eye. I did not watch The Idol. You did.
I did.
I read enough and heard what you had to say that
eyes still burn.
I won't watch it. And that's not coming from a prudish standpoint.
No, it's not.
It's from the exploitation. I mean, we're not here to talk about The Idol. And it just didn't, I was kind of like, okay, here we go. But I love Nicholas Hoult. I love Emma Corrin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe and Aaron Taylor Johnson. I mean, it's a great cast.
I like a tight cast.
Yeah.
Where, there's not a whole lot of other, peripheral characters and people coming in and out. It's really just a solid cast. And to me, it always gives me that feeling of this is like a theater play.
Yeah. And I think Lily-Rose Depp did a great job. She put her heart and her soul into this, and you can absolutely tell.
Yeah.
I think she really embodied Ellen as someone who is tortured but does have agency and wants to free herself of this, but wants to be active in the freeing of herself, not just the bystander. And I mean, I'm glad to say I was definitely wrong about my misgivings with her. I think she's great. I can't wait to see what she does next. Unless it's The Idol 2, I won't be watching that. But
yeah, I think she, I don't know. It would not surprise me that she gets some sort of nod or nomination even for this performance. I don't know that she's going to win like the big award. However, as you said, this certainly puts to bed any thought that she doesn't have what it takes to be a leading actress, or that, in some sort of way that she's just some juvenile Nepo baby trying her hand at acting. I think that she's really good. I liked her in The Idol too. The story still has me scratching my head, and I can't do it with what they did with The Weeknd. But, and the taking the issues, the many issues with the exploitation of the show, her energy that she put in that performance, you could tell was like a consummate professional, that she's giving this all she's got, and that she's taking every role that she is portraying seriously. She's not your, run of the mill Hollywood, ingenue. And I think that that's what sets her apart, is that she is willing to give these roles and her career what it takes in order to, secure the best outcome. I like that.
She did a great job. Lily-Rose Depp was great. Everybody else does a really good job. Nicholas Hoult, I love him. Honestly, I love him in everything. I just have a soft spot for him. I love him in The Great. Love him in...
I really loved him in The Great.
He was so good in The Great.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
It's just so happy.
Nicholas Hoult is great. I mean, Willem Dafoe as the kooky occult doctor. Come on.
Oh, hey. Yeah. I mean, he really was the counterbalance to all of this seriousness. And you need that. And, it reminded me of the Anthony Hopkins performance in the Dracula movie, where he was just having fun, and they'd go from like this scene where they're decapitating someone to him like cutting into like a ribeye steak and like cheersing and laughing.
He's so good in that movie.
I love that. So again, just a fantastic performance. I love everything that he's in.
He's great.
Willem Dafoe is just chef's kiss. And man, he's been busy in recent years, hasn't he?
Busy.
I'm telling you, like every 6 months he's in a new film.
He's in something. Good for him.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Bill Skarsgard as Count Orlock / Nosfaratu.
I didn't know what to expect. I saw Skarsgard billed as Count Orlock. I immediately envisioned the skinny, bald-headed, like pale white creature with the ears and long skinny face, and I thought, okay, I can see it.
Yeah.
What it did not expect was what they did with this and made this a much more darker, sinister. And I guess when they moved the placement of the story into Germany and further into kind of the Eastern European,
which is instead of London, which is where it originally was, right? Yeah,
because a lot of these dramatic fairy tales are very dark, and operatic stories that have been told for generations. It made more sense, and I like that. And so when I think we see this bigger creature or gentleman who's a vampire, deceased individual, undead, as they would say, hits, to me, it's more realistic, and I like that.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job. I mean, Bill Skarsgard's made a name for himself as playing, not made a name for himself, but he's well known for playing these types of characters. So when I saw that he was cast as this kind of creature of the night thing, I was like, okay, that works. I thought he did a great job. My note with the portrayal is the breathing. I feel like they just did it too much. The Darth Vader-y heavy breath. I don't know. It was distracting to me. Everything else I enjoyed. I enjoyed the accent, because again, they're leaning into, he is this, probably Transylvanian, Romanian lord. Sure. Yeah. He's got that accent. That's all good. I'm into that. It was the breathing. I was like, it threw me out of the movie sometimes. Yeah. I was like, can he just stop? Like, it's distracting. But his presence, my notes about Count Orlock are nothing to do with Bill Skarsgard. I thought he did amazing.
Yeah.
I think the character, they seesawed on what he was and what he wasn't doing. But I'm famously very pro Alexander Skarsgård as Eric Northman. That is my type of vampire. But,
shirtless.
Sexy and seductive, not rotting from the plague and that. I mean,
which I think, as others have pointed out, it's more in line with the original story.
Sure.
Which is this corpse, which is unalive but also undead.
Yeah.
And I think we've had so much in our lifetime of the romantic, handsome, dark, mysterious Dracula, with and in so many different iterations.
Yeah.
And in each decade we get like a sexier vampire in some sort of way. And God bless Sam Reed. He's my favorite. I love Eric Northman and others.
And Spike and Jacob. Jacob Anderson's different because he's kind of the tortured vampire. But
to me, it's nice to go back and maybe like get back to the roots of like how sinister. Sometimes it's hard to be scared of these vampires in the Anne Rice, cinematic universe, the Buffy, universe. Like, they're hot. Like, you want to be their friends. Like, you want to hang out with them. When you see like a vampire going back to more of the original story and the theme, it's like, hey, you do not want to be around these things. These are very scary, like almost demon-like creatures from hell.
Yeah.
Who aren't here to like take you to coffee and
take you to coffee. No, and I appreciate that. I want to make it clear.
So I liked going back to that.
Let me go back to my notes. No, I want to make it clear that this is a personal preference. It's not a dig on the film. I prefer the Eric Northman, the dangerous but really hot and seductive. The Sam Reed Lestat, like unhinged, glorifying and glorying in the blood and the death, but still really hot.
I really hope there weren't people going into this hoping to see something like that.
Yeah, if you thought that's what you were going to get, you didn't pay attention to the trailers.
Yeah. I like them both ways.
The thing with, breaking news. My issue with Orlock was, I feel like you can do the undead, scary, we're not doing the Eric Northman, but I feel like the film they didn't flesh it out.
He almost
God damn it.
I feel like you either have to do one or the other. You're either this like this zombie-like creature, a blood fiend, scary, or you have like some torturedness. They kind of were like, maybe he's that. I wanted to pick a lane almost,
right?
And I feel like they didn't, because they fleshed out so much of the other film or other aspects of the film. All the detail paid to the costuming, the cinematography, the period appropriate set pieces.
Just stunning.
I wish they gave Orlock's character more of that attention to detail, because I felt like, wait, so in the dreams, are you giving Ellen like the ride of her life and it's scary and it's great?
I'm with you on that.
And then, but in reality, what are you unhappy? Do you have feelings? I don't know.
I think that's where Eggers really went a step too far.
Yeah.
Where I think he was very much in his head about what he knew versus what the expectation of the audience will be.
Yeah.
With the way that he adapted this story. This is where they could have done a bit more like exposition to fill in those gaps. So we're not questioning like, but was it or was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not, no notes, especially like on the sound stuff. Like with the breathing, I told you like my biggest note is that I wish that there were subtitles, because there were times where when he was speaking, the breathing either in or out, it was tough to really understand what he was saying. And that may have been important to the story.
Yeah. Who could say?
Yeah, who could say?
My one note about the cast, as you know, I have been a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson since the film Kick-Ass. That film has a lot going on. Yeah. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson has a lot of charisma. I think he's obviously attractive. He's been good in anything I've seen him in. I have not seen Kraven the Hunter. I know it's got bad reviews.
Didn't see it.
It's still, I couldn't tell you. It wasn't
Is that
even
a Marvel?
Yes, but it's owned by Sony, so it's in the Sony universe.
Oh God, I can't.
He's one of Spider-Man's big villains.
Okay.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I know what he's going for. He's going for the blustery, blowhard, and damn it, man, and blah blah blah. Yeah. He just sometimes fell character. Flat.
He did.
He didn't. I don't know if he knew what movie he was in. But then there were times where you saw it come through and you're like, I get what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
There were glimpses of it.
There just, it didn't quite come through. But I did like, Emma Corrin, who I love. They're amazing. I didn't feel like their character had a lot to do. I wanted more of like their dynamics, you know?
It took me a while to figure out who it was. And then there was like a good like 30-second pause where I'm just like pointing at the screen. I'm like, I know her.
Yeah.
I couldn't with the wig, but I knew those eyes. Like I knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well,
I thought they were great.
Yeah, Emma's unrecognizable in this film. I mean, when we left, our friend Mavish was kind of like, "What is? Where?" And I was
exactly.
Like, okay, Emma Corrin was in Deadpool and Wolverine, which we all three saw together, and she was Princess Diana in The Crown. She was in Lady Chatterley's Lover. Stunning.
Princess Diana. She was amazing.
I mean, all in all, I think it's a really good film. Do I think I'm going to come back to it and watch it like when it comes on streaming? Maybe in October. Great little spooky film, but it was not. Yeah, it's just not my type of supernatural vampire story.
Totally, I understand it.
I do want to have a conversation about your notes because I think it's really important, and you really verbalized. Like it's such an eloquent discussion, and it's about the role of consent in this film. So
go ahead.
No, I want you to, or do you want me? Do you think I should? I don't know.
Well, I'll let you. I mean, I put
reading
these
notes,
your notes. I wrote it, and I was like, this is way too much. We're never going to get to it.
No, we can still talk about that because I think it's. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
So my notes basically were that Eggers, in this portrayal of Nosfaratu, has this weird and fascinating way of bringing up consent, even if it's not entirely like intentional.
Right.
Orlock is this creepy, obsessive figure who embodies everything about what isn't like freely given. So he's stalking, he's manipulative, he invades Ellen's life without permission. And I think Ellen
and what he does to Nicholas Hoult is
Ellen initially does invite something, not him, but she's looking for something, and that invitation is basically picked up by Orlock. And when it's pulled away, he he invades her life without her permission, basically, without her consent. But Ellen's not like a passive victim, is what I said. At certain points, she seems to make like deliberate choices of whether it's summoning him in desperation or she's facing him like on her own terms because she's got questions or wants to make sure that her husband's safe. Like it creates this strange like push and pull dynamic. His actions are predatory and scream like zero consent, but Ellen, her agency in certain moments flips that narrative on its head. And so I don't know, what are your thoughts moving into this conversation? Because I don't want to get too far into it without hearing from you.
I agree. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about Ellen's character is, and we touched on it a little bit when we were talking about Lily-Rose Depp, is her agency. She's not fully just this passive damsel. Mm-hmm. And, she does at the beginning kind of, it seems like that's where we're going because Nicholas Hoult's Thomas goes to the castle and he gets trapped there and she's starting to have these night fits and it's this whole thing. But towards the end, she comes to the realization that, hey, I have to be the one that ends this and I'm going to be the one who ends this.
Right. She takes back that power.
Yeah. And just the theme in general of Orlock, he says she has to come to me freely.
Right.
It's an interesting thing to have in this story
at
where
the same time that he's just
basically
covered her.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that they said on Pop Culture Happy Hour that I did enjoy is comparing Ellen to Mina from the Dracula stories.
Yes.
She's got way more of a role, way more power, way more agency.
And they pointed out that she's married.
Yeah.
In this, and Mina Harker was not.
Yeah. And she saves the day of her choice. We see the Romani girl earlier who's led to Orlock's, I guess, grave. Mm-hmm. We see, she's going to be sacrificed. We don't see it.
Yeah.
And we don't know if that girl went willingly or if she was forced or what the whole story was. Sure. But we have this in our head of like, okay, well, Ellen's probably going to have to die, or here we go. Ellen she's like, I want to end this. Yeah. I want to do what I have to do. She's not forced.
Right.
She's not.
And it has nothing to do with feelings or love or any of that, which you have in the Dracula storytelling, which is very romantic.
Yeah.
And Mina, chooses Dracula because of his, endless, timeless love for her.
Yeah.
Their star-crossed, their soul connection, they're soulmates. These two are not soulmates. And the line that he had where he says that he's not this, he's just an appetite.
Yeah.
Best line.
Oh, like I'm not a
film.
Yeah, I'm just an appetite.
Yeah, I'm just an appetite. Like and I think when we get criticisms about like his character and the way that it looks and like why isn't he drinking blood and like gaining his powers back, I think that was made up later for vampires. This is true. He's like, all I do is drink blood.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there's nothing else to his life. He's just an appetite. He wakes up and consumes and goes back to bed.
And I wish they would have leaned into that more when we were talking about his character earlier, because then sometimes they make it think like he's sitting there maybe brooding and doing these things. And it's like, I like that version.
Times he does.
Yeah.
When he's obsessed with her, he's got his coat on and he's got his hat. He's even buying property and he's making.
But what is he obsessed with?
He's making plans
because he's an appetite. What's he going to do?
Is it just like he's drawn toward his destiny? There's a codex that's mentioned later in the movie.
I love a codex.
William Dafoe. I love a codex, and I love how this is written, and you can see it's written in foreign language, but it looks like codex. Anyway, William Dafoe references this codex that the Renfield character, played by Simon McBurney, that there is a codex. So he understands the language of Orlock, and he understands what the outcome is going to be. Basically, codex is the key to understanding everything, and it just seemed like this was his destiny.
Yeah.
So if this character has the codex and it was given to him by Orlock so he could understand, then Orlock, to me, knew his destiny. He knew the ending.
Yeah.
And and that's why there was no other option for her that he gave her. That maybe I'm speculating is that he knew the ending because of the codex.
But then why buy property? Why not just go take it over? Because you're going to release the plague into the city anyway. You know what I mean?
And that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because that's where things get unclear. Because wait, there's a codex, so wouldn't he know? But also, there's all these other little side things that are coming down the pipeline. So anyway,
yeah. But I did like the film. I really did.
It's great. Yeah, it's a fascinating look at this story, and if we could maybe more clearly understand it, and that's why I want to watch it. I want to watch it again just so I can have a better understanding of the story, because I feel like I missed some stuff, or because I couldn't understand it with the breathing, and so like I want to watch it, but I want to watch it with subtitles, and I just see if I can get a clearer picture of what's going on here. But love the story, love the discussion or the take on consent, love the costuming, love the moody, broody, atmospheric cinematography. Like win the Oscar. That's just absolutely phenomenal.
Agreed.
All in all, I love the film, and thanks so much for going with me.
Thanks for organizing. Sure. It was great. It was a great time. And, now that we're actually having this conversation again, I'd like to rewatch it too, because I think there are some things that might stand out that might clear some things up. And if you haven't seen Nosfaratu 1, good on you for listening to a whole spoiler-filled discussion about it. Yeah. But if you really haven't, go see it in the theater. I think it really deserves to be seen on the big screen.
Yeah, please. There's so many great, fascinating takes in this vampiric world that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Yeah. Well, Ryan,
Jenny, what's Unhinged? I think this is what you've been waiting for.
It's a little different for us over on Unhinged. It's a little closer to home.
God bless it, Jenny.
So, we're in the Austin area, and this week's Unhinged headline comes straight out of Austin in Cedar Park, which is a northern suburb of Austin. A female student at Vista Ridge High School has been accused of killing another student's goat with pesticide at the school's barn.
That is so sad.
It's awful. This is a 17-year-old. She told police in her confession that she injected pesticide into the mouth of the goat because the 15-year-old student who was taking care of this goat was a cheater, and the perpetrator does not like cheaters. Yeehaw, folks. Welcome to the Lone Star State.
So they cheat.
What? It's a fucking Unhinged.
It's really unhinged.
And it's sad. The goat was killed. Like, I'm not trying to make light of animal cruelty or death. Like, that's really sad.
And this is really big. I don't know if you're from a state where you have a 4-H program, but this type of young agricultural, program and leadership program and, is so big in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And is so positive in many communities and for many kids.
It gets a lot of scholarships to a lot of kids who who do the showing and all the events that are tied with 4-H.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of them probably go on to, probably every veterinarian in the state of Texas was probably in 4-H or something at some point. I would venture to guess. I don't know that, but I'm saying it's big. And most of the people who are involved in it are involved because they love it. Like there's a passion there for animals and for their welfare. And it's just sad to see this.
It's really sad. Yeah. I mean, and this girl,
I know it must have really broke that girl's heart.
The one who was taking care of the goat. Yeah. I mean, again, not to make light of it, it's just absolutely unhinged that was a headline in the news. I mean, the poor girl whose goat died in her arms. So guys,
Come on.
I don't like cheaters either, but let's not murder animals. She apparently admitted to poisoning him multiple times over several days.
Oh, God bless
and they want justice. I mean,
sure.
Well,
I mean, that's just an act of animal cruelty on top of, the added insult to injury to the young girl who has spent time, energy and effort and resources into raising this goat.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So we'll see what happens.
Sorry for leaving you on that note.
Yeah. Nosfaratu. Well, thank you for listening to our pop culture podcast, Unhinged. These episodes come out on Wednesdays. And for more Unhinged content, please follow us on social media. We are at Once More Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. We are on YouTube. You can watch these episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/oncemorepodcast.
Unhinged is produced by us. And I'm Ryan something.
And I'm Jen Katz.
Bye.